Thank you all. Thanks for coming. Okay, let's get to work. Thanks for coming. 100 years since the president's been here. I don't know what took the other one so long to get here. Mr. Mayor, thanks. Mayor Greg McDermott, I appreciate your inviting me here. Appreciate you being at the airport. I appreciate you and the local officials putting up with the entourage. Thank you all for coming. My regret is Laura's not with me. She's doing great, though. She is a fabulous woman, and I'm a lucky guy that she has agreed to marry me. I got some things I want to talk about. I want to talk about freedom and peace. I want to talk about growing this economy. I want to talk about Social Security. Before I do so, I do want to say thanks to Congressman Mike Ferguson for his great leadership in the House of Representatives. And Maureen, it's good to see you, Maureen. I see her. She's doing great. Thanks for coming. Rodney Freeling-Heisen is with us. Rodney, thank you, sir. Rodney and I were talking about on Air Force One how hard it is to be a baby boomer and trying to jog. Part of the problem we're going to face in Social Security, there's a lot of baby boomers like me and Rodney who are getting ready to retire, but I'm going to wait a little bit and talk about that. I want to thank Scott Garrett for joining us, Congressman Scott Garrett. I'm very honored that Congressman Steve Rothman is with us. I'm honored you're here, Congressman. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you coming. Thanks for being here. I want to thank, there's a congressman you probably have never heard of, or maybe you have. I shouldn't do that. I mean, that's unfair. I'm going from New Jersey to South Bend, Indiana, and a good fellow from South Bend who happens to be the congressman said, "Can I have a ride?" And I said, "You bet." And his name is Chris Chicola from South Bend, Indiana. Congressman, thanks for coming. Mike Chertoff, anybody ever heard of him? He's now the Department of Homeland Security. Raised right here. So we're standing on the stage during the swearing in, or maybe right before, right after, and he said, "Tell the home folks thanks." It's okay. Chertoff said thanks. And I say thanks to Mike Chertoff for agreeing to serve in the Department of Homeland Security. He has got a big job. But he's capable of handling that job. And that job is to do all we can to make sure all federal agencies work together to protect the American people. And speaking about protecting the American people, I want to thank the family members and the supporters of the Guard unit right here from this armory that is in Iraq right now. When you email your loved one, tell them the Commander-in-Chief is incredibly proud, and so is the rest of the country. And we are thankful for the sacrifice and service not only of the men and women who wear the uniform, but of their families as well. I want to welcome Jason Reed, 2004 Olympic gold medalist in rowing. I appreciate you coming, Jason. Good job. Today when I landed, I met John Herman. John is a volunteer with the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program of Union County, New Jersey. What he does, he knows something about accounting. And so at tax time, he helps the disabled or low-income or elderly individuals fill out their tax forms. What he is, he's a soldier in the Army of Compassion. He's a person who has taken his life, time out of his life to lend his talents to help a neighbor in need. And the reason I bring that up is there's all kinds of ways to serve our country. We've got those wearing the uniform serving our country, whether it be abroad or here at home. But you can serve your country as well by feeding the hungry, or finding shelter for the homeless, or helping a low-income person fill out a tax reform. You can serve your country just like John Herman is by volunteering and loving a neighbor just like you'd like to be loved yourself. If you want to serve America, do so by helping save a soul and save a life. This country's real strength are the hearts and souls of our American citizens. We're living in amazing times. You know, I want the youngsters here to just remember the times in which you were growing up. In Afghanistan, millions voted for a president. The Palestinians elected a new leader. In Iraq, over 8 million people, in spite of the violence, in spite of the threats, said, we refuse to be intimidated. We're going to vote. We want to be free. Freedom is a powerful force for good. That's what the youngsters have got to recognize. And that freedom is just not a Western idea. Freedom is not an American idea. Freedom is, my judgment, a gift from a higher being, a higher power. Everybody desires to be free. And the job of the United States is to work with others to help people realize what's deep in their soul, and that is the desire to live in a free society. And it's our interest we do so. Many of you were affected by the attacks of September the 11th. We'll stay on the hunt. We'll disrupt al-Qaeda. We'll find them wherever they hide. But I will tell you the long-term solution to defeating hatred and hopelessness and the dark vision of al-Qaeda and the likes of them is to spread freedom and hope around the world. And that's what you're seeing today. Amazing times. I just came back from Europe. I had a great trip. I want to thank our friends overseas for being such wonderful hosts to Laura and me. I sat down with the French president, and we understand some things. And one of the things we really understand is that Syrian troops, Syria's intelligence services must get out of Lebanon now. Lebanon is a democracy. Lebanon is a democracy, and we strongly support that democracy. I was pleased that Crown Prince Abdullah of Saudi Arabia sent the very same message. The world is beginning to speak with one voice. We want that democracy in Lebanon to succeed, and we know it cannot succeed so long as she is occupied by a foreign power, and that power is Syria. There's no half measures involved. When the United States and France and others say withdraw, we mean complete withdrawal, no half-hearted measures. And those of you trying to analyze our foreign policy, just remember democracy leads to peace. The peace we all want for our children and our grandchildren. Economy's getting better. Today we got some good news. We added 262,000 new jobs last month. National unemployment rate's 5.4%. It's 4.2% right here in the great state of New Jersey. And that's good news. But we live in a dynamic world. Things change, and the fundamental question is, what do we do to keep our economy growing? I've told the Congress one way to do so is to make sure we got certainty in the tax code. They need to make the tax cuts permanent. I sent up a budget that says I understand we need to do something about the deficits, and I'm looking forward to working with the budget committees in both the House and the Senate. I thought it was pretty smart of me to say to the American people at the State of the Union, we're going to be wise about how we spend your money, and if the program's not working, we're not going to spend the money on it. Seems realistic and logical. I want to thank the House and the Senate for getting a good piece of legal reform to my desk. One way to make sure the economy continues to grow is to make sure the scales of justice are balanced. They were not balanced when it came to class action lawsuits. Too many class action lawsuits were driving too many good people out of business, which meant people weren't able to find a job. And so we reformed the class action lawsuit system in America for the better. And they need to do the same thing on asbestos reform and medical liability reform. I could spend a lot of time on a lot of subjects, but Laura told me you're going to have some panelists up there. Give them a chance to speak. I will in a minute. I know I'm going on too long. All right, I'm just getting warmed up then. Here we go. Let me get right to the subject at hand. I've asked our fellow citizens to join us on an incredibly important subject, and that's Social Security. First, let me say to you that the Social Security system has been a very important system, and I understand that. Social Security has provided a safety net for many retirees. And that's an important safety net. But the safety net has got a hole in it. And we need to make sure we save that safety net for future generations of Americans to come. First thing I want to tell you about Social Security is that if you're getting your check, nothing will change. No matter what the talk is about reform, nothing will change. I don't care what the ads say. I don't care what the scare tactics say. You're going to get your check, just like the government said. The problem isn't for the seniors. The problem is for the youngsters coming up. The question is, will you get your check? Will we be able to keep the promise? A lot of people say, well, you know, Mr. President, you're talking about Social Security. It's called the third rail of American politics. That means if you touch it, you get a huge electric shock. Now, why are you talking about it? Well, you're going to hear me describe the problem. But I think we have a duty in elected office to confront problems and not pass them on to future presidents, future Congresses, and future generations. I didn't run for office to dodge problems. And I don't think the American people, I don't care what your political party is, I think the American people expect us all to confront problems and deal with them in a fair, open way. That's what I think. Now, let me tell you why I think we got a problem. And me and Rodney are part of the problem. We're baby boomers, and we're fixing to retire. Matter of fact, a lot of us turned 62 in 2008. That's the time you start to retire, and there's a whole lot of us. Yet we're living longer. We're living longer than the previous generations of Americans. So you got more people retiring who are living longer. Plus, we have been promised greater benefits than the previous generation. So we got more people living longer, getting bigger benefits. And the problem is that the number of people paying into the system is shrinking. If you look over here, in the 50s, 16 people were paying into the system to pay for one retiree. So if that person was to get $14,200, say that'd be $900 a payer. The system now is 3.3 people paying into the system. In a decade, it's going to be two people paying into the system. Now, this is a pay-as-you-go system. In other words, it says when you retire, somebody's going to have to pay for your benefits. It's not a savings account. One of the myths of Social Security is that your money is going into and the government's holding it and saving it for you. That's not the way it works. Your money's going into the system and it's getting spent. Some of it on retirement benefits, other parts on just general government. And there's an IOU, a paper IOU accumulating. But it's not just sitting there. There's not an account with your name that's saying on behalf of you, the government's now got your money. That's not the way it works. So it's a pay-as-you-go. It goes in and goes out. Now, let me give you some numbers about the consequences of what we're talking about. And this chart says it pretty good. Right now, there are more people paying in. The money coming in on payroll taxes is greater than the money going out. And that's the black part of the chart. But very soon, in a very quick period of time, as a matter of fact, in 2018, the money going out exceeds the money coming in Social Security. In other words, baby boomers like me, who will be living longer and have been promised greater benefits, are going to start saying, send me my check. And those of you paying in are going to start to have to pay into a system that is going into the red every year. As you can see, the number gets worse and worse as time goes on. In 2028, the amount of the money that needs to be paid in order to make the promises is $200 billion a year, above and beyond payroll taxes. And it gets bigger every year. Gets into $300 billion a year. So when you got more money going out in terms of the promises made to baby boomers retiring and fewer people paying in, this thing gets into the red in a real hurry. That's why I say we got a problem. Now, 2018, some would say that's not, that's pretty far down the road, isn't it? Think about that. 2018, if you're a mom with a 5-year-old child, that person's going to be driving and you're going to get gray hair before you know it. I mean, we're talking about right around the corner when you think about it. Those of us in public office must look down the road. We can't say, well, don't worry, I'm on a 2-year term, or I'm on a 6-year term, or I'm on a 4-year term. We'll just let somebody else deal with it. Because the longer you wait, the harder the problem is. Imagine waiting until 2018 and you're a young worker and the government says, oh, by the way, I'm going to have to raise your payroll taxes again in order to pay for the benefits we promised. Or we're going to have to slash this program, that program. I mean, eventually, when you're spending at least $200 billion above and beyond that which you got in payroll taxes and increases every year, something drastic has to happen. If we act now, we can do so in a way that saves the system for younger workers. I'm going to tell you again, I'm going to keep saying it all around the country, and I like doing this, by the way. I like going around the country saying, folks, we have got a problem. And I like saying to people, don't worry about it if you've been born prior to 1950. Nothing changes. You're going to get what you promised. But I'm also saying to younger workers, you better listen carefully to this debate, because you're the ones who are going to have to pay for it. And if I were you, I'd be saying, well, if we have a problem, Mr. President, what do you and the Congress intend to do about it? Right now, we're wondering whether we got a problem. I've been reading the newspapers and been seeing some folks saying there's not a problem. He's just exaggerating. Well, I'm going to keep telling people we got a problem until it sinks in, because we got one. The facts are irrefutable. You can't dodge whether we have a problem or not. Because, see, the next follow-on question to that is, if you got a problem, what do you Republicans and Democrats and few independents tend to do about it up there? You going to sit around and play politics? Or are you going to get at the table and do your duty as public servants? And so I started that process when I gave my State of the Union. I said, put your ideas on the table. I said, come on, bring some ideas forward. We have an obligation. And I reminded people that Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan had some good ideas. President Clinton, my predecessor, had some good ideas. Former Democrat Congressman Tim Penny had some good ideas. All of them interesting ideas that need to be in the mix in order to permanently solve this problem. And so I want to say again to folks who are listening here today, I'm really interested in working with members of both parties to be able to say we've done our duty. Now, I've got some ideas, and I want to share one of the ideas with you right now. I believe in order to make the system work better for younger workers, they ought to be allowed to, at their choice, to take some of their own money and set aside in a personal savings account. That's what I think we ought to consider. Let me tell you why it makes sense to me. That, first of all, the government can't meet its promises. But one way for a younger worker to come close to what the government has promised is to be able to take a portion of the money and get a better rate of return on your own money than that which the Social Security system gets. See, there's something called the compounding rate of interest. That's when you set aside a dollar or a series of dollars, and it grows over time. And obviously, if the rate on your money is 2%, it'll grow at a certain pace. If it's 4%, it grows double that. And right now, your money is earning very little compared to what you can get in conservative stocks and bonds and investments. I'm talking conservative. I'm not talking about, lottery, taking it to the track. A conservative mix of stocks and bonds, just like federal employees get in the Employee Thrift Savings Plan. Just like we give people who work for the government. You can take some of your own money, set it aside, and watch it grow. Do you realize that if you're a person who earns an average of $35,000 a year over your working career, $35,000, and you're allowed to put 4% of the money of the payroll tax aside in a personal account, and you hold it over time, that when you retire, you'll save $250,000. That's your money. That money, by the way, the $250,000 is the capital account. Now, you can't spend all that the minute you retire. This isn't a retirement account we're talking about. But it's your money, and the interest off that money goes to supplement the Social Security check that you're going to get from the federal government. See, personal accounts is an add-on to that which the government's going to pay you. It doesn't replace the Social Security system. It is a part of getting a better rate of return, though, so you come closer to the promises made. That's important to know. Secondly, you just can't take it all out. I mean, it's a retirement system. There will be rules about withdrawal. You can't put it in certain things if you startups. There are guidelines to encourage you to make the right kind of investments. Now, you can alter stocks and bonds and different things, your choice. But it's been proven that when you hold money over a period of time in safe, conservative investments, it gets a better rate of return than the money you get in the Social Security system. So there'll be guidelines about what you can invest in. We got to make sure the system is fair to poor Americans. And so there's ways to make sure the benefit structure is fair. But let me talk to you about investing. There's a certain notion in America that the investor class is only a certain type of person. I just don't believe that. I don't subscribe to that. I don't think that's what America's about. I think we ought to encourage people from all walks of life to own something. I think ownership is a vital part of being a productive citizen in our country. I think we ought to encourage ownership, not discourage ownership. And I think we ought to recognize people from all walks of life are plenty capable about managing our own affairs. I'm getting ready. Hold on. I'm winding down here. Think about a system where you've accumulated a nest egg of your own, the $35,000 a year person, $250,000 nest egg, and that when you pass on, you can leave it to whom you want. In other words, that person can then take it and spend it tomorrow if they feel like it. But it's your asset. See, it's your money to begin with. The Social Security system today, and if you're a young widow and the money your husband put in, there's nothing there. There's no asset. There's a government promise that at a certain age you'll get a stipend, but there's no assets there, see? And so what we're talking about is really changing how the system works so that your money can earn a better rate of return, and that after when you pass on, you can pass that money on to whomever you want. So we're talking about helping people build up an asset base, which I think is a vital part of a stable future. It also has the added benefit of providing more savings. And when there's more savings, there's more investment. And there's more investment, there's more jobs. It'll be good for the economy as well. So I'm interested in this idea. I'm excited about it. I've spent a lot of time talking about it to people. I understand we're going to have to explain to people, over time when we talk with Congress how this works. I've said it makes sense to phase it in very slowly so that we can better afford the transition cost to go from one system to another. But I'll tell you this, if we don't act, we're looking at about $11 trillion hole for the American taxpayers that are coming up. This is a big liability, not for me and baby boomers. We're fine. Rodney and I are just fine. We lucked out when it came time to the year we were born. But if you're born, if you're a young worker, you've got a problem. And I repeat, I hope that as time goes on and this debate goes forward, that you understand the power of your voice. to say to people, we've seen enough of this, we're not going to move because somebody might look good, or we don't want to do it because my political party told me not to do something. Now's the time to get rid of all that deadlock in Washington, and focus on the problem for the good of a generation to come. All right. Olivia Mitchell's with us. Olivia, tell us what you do.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It's a delight to be here with you today. I teach in the area of pensions and Social Security at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. And I have to say, teaching young folks about retirement saving is a tough thing to do. But what you have accomplished this year is raising people's attention on this topic, probably the most important domestic agenda item, if you will. As you pointed out, the economics and the finances of the program are in dire straits. Within 13 years, the revenue coming in won't be enough to pay benefits. And beyond that, we face an unfunded liability that's equal to the entire GDP, gross domestic product of the U.S. This is not Social Security, this is social insecurity, and we have the responsibility to fix it. Social Security is also not fair. There are many people who pay in their entire lifetimes, low-wage workers. Their benefit at retirement is below the poverty line. That's a hole in the safety net, as you pointed out. We need to fix that. So at the end of the day, it's my view that personal retirement accounts should be and must be part of a reform system. They'll be more transparent. They'll give people the opportunity to invest. They can be bequeathed in the event of an early death. They have so many appeals. I'm very happy that you've put that at the top of your agenda.
Well, I appreciate that, Olivia. It's very important. Thank you all. Yeah. It's very important for those folks. And listen, I understand. There's a lot of people who rely exclusively on their Social Security check. And I know that. And it is very important for people to just not be frightened by the discussion about making sure your grandchildren have got a system around. I mean, one of the great things about the generation who now relies upon Social Security is there's a deep concern about generations coming up. And this really is a generational issue, and I want to thank you for bringing that up. Speaking about that, we got John Bly with us. Welcome.
Hi, Mr. President.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. My name is John Bly. I reside in East Northport, which is in the town of Huntington in Suffolk County in Long Island. I'm here tonight with my daughter, Lisa. She lives in Westfield.
Yeah, Lisa invited Dad. That's good. Yeah.
It's a good thing I brought my Sunday suit. I'm here tonight with my wife, Libby, my other daughters, Beth and Janine, my sons-in-law, Will Engler, who lives in Westfield here, and Larry Como, and my 7 grandchildren. And we're real pleased to come and support the president because we have a president that we can respect and a president we can believe in.
Thank you. Thanks, John. I appreciate that. Thanks, yeah. Social Security.
That's why we're here. I graduated from Fordham University in 1961.
Yeah, the Alumni Association's here. That's good.
And the Monday after my graduation, I started working in the aerospace industry and continued that for 42 years. Things were different back in the 60s and the early 70s, and we weren't thinking about retirement. And I really didn't get started on my retirement until about I was 20 years into my work period. So for the last 22 years, I was able to build up my pension. I was able to supplement it. I would build up my 401k. I was able to supplement it. And I have my Social Security benefit. Libby and I depend on our pension, on our IRA account, and we depend on our Social Security supplement to maintain our standard of living on the island. It's very, very important to us. But I'm not concerned about Social Security. I am protected. I have my benefits. As a parent and as a senior citizen, and relating to all my other senior citizens, our concern mainly is not our benefits, because we have them. We're concerned about our children and our grandchildren. We're concerned about their future. We're concerned about maintaining the American ethic of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and to make sure that they have that. And looking at the government proof-tested thrift plans that exist with the Congress and with the government employees, I don't see where there's a big problem. Private accounts are going to pay more. Private accounts are going to be vested. Private accounts are going to be yours. You'll have ownership and control. You'll have something that you can see grow, and they'll be available for you and your family. And I am so happy about what the president is doing, because like in other areas like in education and taxes and health care, he's leading the drive to make a sound America for our children. And he's to be applauded for that.
Well, I appreciate you, John. Thanks. Good job. Thank you. Very good. See, I think the operative word is that he's not worried about getting his check. Counts on his check, not worried about it. That's what one of the things I'm going to continue saying around this country. And by the way, this is state number 10, and tomorrow's 11, and I'm keeping moving. I'm going to go to a lot of places. I'm not going to go away on this issue because it's vital, and we got to do something for the younger folks. And the fact that John said he's not worried about the check that he's been promised, is an important statement. He said, I need it, and I'm not worried about it. And I want others to hear that as well. Then he invited, Lisa, who invited who? Did you invite Dad, or did he invite himself?
Well, I'm sorry. The truth of the matter is, I need my parents on a regular basis to help me, because I have 5 children.
5
and
kids, that's good, yeah.
I really can't do it all on my own. So anyway, yes, I'm Lisa Engler. I'm here with my husband, Will, and my 5 children.
John's your dad.
And my dad. And Social Security, of course, for me is an issue, because not only did I work in the workforce for 10 years and saw a big chunk of my money go into Social Security, and all the senior managers telling me, you know, it may not be here for you. Invest in 401k. But now I'm looking at the numbers and everything. It's very frightening as a parent. I have a 3-month-old daughter who, at the age of 65, this system will be bankrupt for almost 30 years. It's frightening.
2042, it goes broke.
And
for good. I mean, not only goes into red, but whatever, paper is available in form of IOUs is gone. I mean, that's a fact.
And there's no getting around it. I mean, we all know it. We've all heard.
No, not everybody knows it yet.
No. Well, oops.
They're gonna know it.
Oops.
You know it. Sorry.
Well, as a parent, as I just said, I'm concerned because my children will be inputting into a system that's going off a cliff. And basically, it's going to cause tensions between the young and the old. And this is something that really concerns me. And I don't want to see that happen. The system that was originally designed was not meant for our young people to have such a burden. It was meant to be a safety net. And based on the changes in demographics, we need to face that and change the system to be reflected accordingly and to work. And we all have experience, or not all of us, but a lot of us have experience with 401ks or some form of investment, and the younger generation especially is having more experience with that. And it seems to be tried and true, and I'm very excited about it because it creates a direct line for my children to have money that they put into a system, that they can put part of their money into the system and part for their own personal account. That's theirs, that they can count on in the future when they're figuring out their retirement. And it takes away some of this tension, I think, between the generations. And it's a fairer, more equitable system that is accountable, because you know it's your money, and we all know when it's ours, we watch it.
There you go. Yeah, and not only that, that's a good, very good. And not only you watch your money grow, but you watch people making decisions about the economy. There's just a certain sense of when you own something, you actually own a stake. The future matters a lot. I love the fact that more people are owning their home in America than ever before. I love the fact that people are owning their own business in America, people from all walks of life. And I think it makes sense to encourage ownership when it comes to retirement system. Carlos Pagan. First of all, he's a firefighter, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Think about those firefighters, they stay in good shape. You also,
I own a real estate company in the city of Patterson. Again, my name is Carlos Pagan. I'm 33 years old. I'm raising 2 kids. I have a daughter named Vanessa. She's 15.
no,
And my son,
you're not
Steven.
15. Okay,
He's 13.
so like teenagers?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've been there.
Mr. President, I strongly support this, and the reason why I strongly support this is the ownership aspect of the Social Security system. Rather than just putting money away and having money deducted from us every week, at least now we know we have something at retirement. We have a say in where our money goes. Yesterday, I want to learn a little bit, well, 2 days ago, I want to learn a little bit more about this new reform. And I sat with like 10 agents, and I asked them if they knew anything about the current Social Security system. They knew a little bit. And I asked them if they knew anything about the reform. They really didn't know much. So we sat down for an hour, and we went on the internet. And to make a long story short, at the end of the hour, no one had any confidence in this current Social Security system. But everyone had hope for this new Social Security system.
Let me tell you an interesting statistic. Good job. Not too much. I'll get back to you on this. You know, Carlos just raised something. The other day I was at one of these forums, and the person said, people like me, she had read a survey that said people her age thought they were likely to see a UFO before they'd get a Social Security check when they retired. Kind of interesting observation, isn't it? So here's Carlos, firefighter, saying, just give me a chance to manage some of my own money. Things have changed in America since I was Carlos's age. I mean, I don't remember 401ks when I was 30 years old. Maybe they were there. I just wasn't observant of it. I don't think 401ks came into being. I don't think there was this notion of defined contribution plans. Except here we are talking to a brave firefighter talking about, give me a chance to contribute to my own plan. Kind of interesting, isn't it? It's an interesting shift of attitude. There's a lot of folks that maybe not realize this. There's a whole kind of investor culture that is growing up throughout the whole younger generation. People are used to it. People are used to the concept of opening up a quarterly statement and saying, look at my asset base. Look how it is growing. That's an important thing that people need to hear, particularly people in the United States Congress, that we're not talking about a foreign idea of allowing people to take some of their own money in order so that that money can grow at a better rate than that which is in the government, so that when they come and retire, they can be closer to the benefits promised by the federal government. That's what we're talking about. I think it's interesting, don't you, that Carlos is, he's got an entrepreneurial spirit to begin with, right? When did you start your own business?
7 years ago, sir.
You making a living?
Yeah, I'm doing
That's
all
good,
right.
yeah. We like to hear. Employing people?
Yes, and this summer I'm going to employ my daughter for the first time, and she'll be able to contribute to the Social Security system.
That's good, yeah. That's good. Good job. Okay. Brian Doherty. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be here, Mr. President.
Glad you're here. Age?
23.
Yeah. See, he's nervous and should be. Not about sitting up here.
I'm 23 years old. I live in Hoboken, New Jersey now. I'm a sales manager at the Hilton Short Hills around the corner. And
Business
it's a
all
nice
right?
property. Business is good.
Yeah, well,
And I wouldn't be
you
doing my
deserve you deserve a promotion then. What
Well,
the heck?
thank you. Maybe if we can get you staying in the presidential suite, which is
Yeah,
calling
well.
your name. We'll see.
Very good.
Your next overnight trip, sir.
That's called turning the tide on the old boy, you know, that's good.
Mr. President, I appreciate you inviting me here to speak with you today and to speak with everyone here in Westfield, New Jersey. I am just 23 years old, and I have to be frank with you. I graduated less than 2 years ago from school. Prior to my graduation, even a year after my graduation, I couldn't tell you what Social Security is. I couldn't tell you what a 401k is. Fortunately, I've just enrolled in one at Hilton, and I'm very excited about that. But I want to speak to the fact that being 23, my age bracket, and even the people younger, they're interested in this topic. They know it's their future. I wouldn't dare sit here and gripe about paying, payroll taxes at the age of 23, considering how hard my parents have worked and how long they've paid their taxes. I wouldn't think it an issue if I felt comfortable that the money was going in and it would be there when I got out. But I'm concerned about the money. It's disappearing, and we won't see it on the end.
It's interesting, isn't it? Listen to this 23-year-old guy. He's saying, I've analyzed it. I started to pay attention to it. And when I looked at the math, I realized I'm going to be on the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
In other words, you can put all the money in you want, but because of the demographics and the math, there's not going to be anything left. You're just paying for me. And
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. We're happy you are.
The
The question is, will you be paying for anything for yourself? And the answer is not unless we reform this system. That's what the message is here today. Keep going. You're on a roll. Keep going.
The other thing, Mr. President, we had an opportunity to speak backstage, and I appreciate your listening. I'm here to ask that Congress listens. You don't see many 23-year-olds on the MSNBC circuit or anything like that at nighttime, but we have something to say, and we're concerned about the issue.
Yeah.
And
You sure do have something to say. See, here's the thing about this issue. I actually ran on it. I said, vote for me, and I'm going to do something about Social Security, and I'm going to try to put out some innovative ideas to fix it. And in the past, people would say, don't campaign on Social Security. You'll get beat. It used to be politically that if you just said something about it, they would run ads saying, well, Bush is going to take away your check. And they actually did that in 2000, I was told. And fortunately, when I ran the next time, I was able to say, well, we didn't take away your check. But I'm still talking about it. Because I think it's an issue you need to talk about. I think it's an important issue, and the dynamics have changed. Young people are beginning to say, what about my check? What's going to be around for me? This is a generational issue. People born from 1950 and before have nothing to worry about. The promise is going to be made. The fundamental question is, will the Congress have the will and the desire to work with the administration so that we can say to people like Brian and Carlos and everybody else up here that are born after 1950, we hear your voice too. We know you've got a concern, and we want to make sure this very important system, the retirement system, is modernized and reformed so you'll have the safety net when you retire as well. Listen, I want to thank you all for giving us a chance to discuss this. I want to thank our panelists. God bless. Thanks for coming.